This is our COVID-19 story so far. Our daughter, Melissa Ann, is the nanny to John and Beth Irwin. John is one of the Irwin brothers, and they've just released their latest movie, I Still Believe. So to give you an idea of the timeline, Melissa Ann watched the children while they went to LA. It was on about March 7th, that weekend. They had the red carpet premiere of I Still Believe in LA. Well, the following Wednesday, they had the red carpet in Tennessee. Melissa Ann had invited one of her friends to attend, and this girl at the last minute backed out. So she called her dad, who just happened to be in Tennessee. He had a training the next morning, and he was up there, and because it was an early morning, so he was spending the night. She said, "Dad, can you attend this event with me?" And he was like, "Baby, I don't have time to go into Nashville tonight. I've got an early morning, and I've got to focus on this material that I've got to teach." And she was like, "Dad, it's not in Nashville, it's in Franklin." So they looked on the maps, and as it played out, the theater was within 0.8 of a mile of his hotel. Let me just insert here that we believe this experience has been a gift from God. One, because we know that God writes the stories of our lives, and the timing in it, the way it played out, the way Tim experienced the illness, the amazing people that he experienced this virus with, and then the way I was sheltered and not there in our interaction has a lot to say about the exposure. That I know there are a lot of rumors and a lot of thoughts behind it, but I do know that we have a real story, and this is the way it happened. And through it all, we hope to encourage other people. It's also a story about not just the physical aspect, but how God is a part of our story, and we want to use it to encourage you. So anyway, in that Tim came home Thursday, we had a date night, and we ate dinner together, we slept in the same bed, we kissed. We got up the next morning. He took me to the doctor for sinuplasty. And the doctor said, "Okay, girl, you're going to have to sleep in the recliner with your head up for 3 days, no heavy lifting." Well, that blew my plans, because we had planned to go to Prattville to work at my mom's rental house that weekend. We've been working down there for several weeks, trying to get it into shape to get it back on the market for her to rent it. So that was it. I was going to be in a chair. So he went on to work, came in, we watched TV together, ran an errand. The next morning he said, "Well, if you're feeling okay, I'm going to go on to Prattville and do some work down there, get some things off our list." I was like, "Oh, sure, go ahead, I'm good." He went down there. He started feeling bad that evening. He ended up spending the night because he wanted to do more. And so he got up the next morning. Church is online. First weekend it's online because of COVID. We would have gone to church. We would have not worked. We don't eat. We don't shop. Sunday is our Sabbath, our God and family day. Love it. But to get this place back in order for her, and because church was online, he went ahead and listened and worked all day until late that evening. And he called me before coming home, and he said, "I really do not feel good at all." And I said, "Well, could you have a fever?" And he was like, "Well, I might." So this is the way I roll. When he pulls in the truck, I hear the little ring go off, and I met him at the door with a thermometer. And so took his temperature, because I didn't want all this stuff coming into my house with that's contaminated. We're going to draw some lines here. And this is not about COVID. This is what I do anytime somebody is sick. So his temperature was like right at 99.2. So he brought in what he had to. And so I banished him to the bedroom. Don't leave the bedroom. You stay there. I'll bring your dinner. Got his dinner, took his dinner dishes back, loaded the dishwasher. Every time I go back and forth touching things, I use hand sanitizer. That's what I do anytime somebody is ill. And we're thinking sinus infection or the flu is still going around, not corona. We didn't think that way. His linens are in there that he brought back from Prattville, his dirty clothes. So I very gently, I'm not going to leave them sitting there. I very gently take what I can, first load, and put them into the washing machine very gently. Put the soap in there, close the lid very gently, and then hand sanitizer, change clothes very carefully. And then the last day I had to sleep on the sofa with my head up anyway. So it was my 3 days. That's kind of the way God taught us this lesson. You're going to sleep with your head up in the living room these 3 days, and he's going to go on about his normal routine. Monday morning, he wakes up. He still has a fever. He had a pretty rough night, and temperature got up over 100, and so he said, you've got to leave because of the sinus issues. I don't want you getting sick. So go on to your mom's house. And I went and got him some groceries. This is where you have to guard the dark places in your heart. So I go into the grocery store, and I don't watch the news. And I noticed the shelves, everything was disappearing. And so you're going, do I need to load the cart up because food is getting scarce? And then your next thought is, okay, what about that woman who is at work and her children are at school? They were at school at the time. And she has to leave work and pick up some groceries for her family. If it's like this at 7 o'clock in the morning, what is it going to look like late in the evening? So I picked up a few extra cans of tuna fish, got him his soup that he likes to eat when he is sick, and, fruit that I love, and just left. And the whole time, too, the Lord reminds you, the Holy Spirit reminds you of scriptures, like from Matthew 6. Read Matthew 6 if you're struggling with fear or anxiety in this process. Read Matthew 6. It's so good. But then, he who tries to find his life, if you cling to your life, you're going to lose it. But he who loses his life for my sake will find it. So all of these things start playing out as you're walking through the process. Got him settled, and so I headed for the lake. Mom lives in a house that was built, that her and Dad built when I was a teenager. It's over 50 years old, and she lives there. But Dad, a few years ago, built this little guest house. It's just one bedroom with a little kitchenette, bathroom, and a deck that overlooks the lake. And so it's separated. And since I had been exposed to something we did not know what it was, I was going to stay over here. She was going to stay over there. And that's, again, just what I do, not knowing what it was. Didn't want her to be exposed even to a cold virus, common cold virus. So he was feeling better. Let's go back. Monday evening, he felt pretty rough. His temperature did get up during Monday to like 102, and it was pretty rough, and he felt bad. Just, of course, it would be. But in saying that, Melissa Ann's got up higher than that when she had type B flu this year, and she was out for days. So it was everything she could do to get out of bed. It didn't go up and down. It stayed pretty high. Tim's, however, he had the fevers and the fatigue, abdominal cramping, and a few other symptoms, some shortness of breath, but nothing severe. But he would feel okay and then bad again, okay and then bad again after the high fever subsided. And so that went on for a few days. His employer, because this was beginning to build in the news, because Tim had been running a fever, wanted him to be tested before returning to work. He was already feeling like he would return to work. So he went in Tuesday, and she comes out to the curb to test her patients. And so went through that, and he called me Wednesday, and he said, Connie, and I could tell by his voice that he was just devastated. He said, are you going to divorce me? And I was like, Tim, we've been married 39 years. What are you talking about? We've had some rough times, but not now. And he was like, I tested positive. Well, he wasn't worried about himself. He was more worried about Melissa Ann and me. And by then, he had already heard a lot of the news stories. And he was very concerned. It really impacted his experience with this virus. And I'm just going to pause right there because don't want this video to get too long. What happened next with our having to tell people, and that was interesting. So I've got some do's and don'ts to share with you in the next video.